was Clement of Rome, who wrote round about AD 96, and he quotes quite a bit of Paul, and he was a key thinker at that time. F.F. Bruce says, also the Logos, quote, the Logos doctrine of the Johannine prologue was naturally treated by those who had been educated in Greek culture in terms of the Logos of the philosopher. Justin Martin argued that men like Socrates, who had embraced the Logos in the form of true reason, were without knowing it Christians before Christ, end of quote. So the Gospel of John and the Logos theology was important in the early church for the development of reflection on the New Testament. Then you had the Marcion and his school. Marcion, a heretic in around about AD 140, said anything Jewish in the Gospels or any of the New Testament should be taken out, and he made up his own canon. People like Tertullian dealt with Marcion. Then you had Irenaeus and Origen. Irenaeus was in the province of Asia, became Bishop of Lyons in Rhodes Valley, AD 177, was an interpreter of New Testament books, and an expositor and a defender against Gnosticism. Origen was a master exegete, he was of Alexandria, Caesarea, around about 185 to 254. And he was an absolute master, and he used the allegorical method of interpretation. Then you have the school of Antioch. You have the great Antiochian exegetes, says you have Theodore of Motsuistia, 350 to 428, and John Chrysostom, 347-407. They used the historical grammatical method of understanding the New Testament. Then we have the Latin fathers in the 4th and 5th centuries. We have Marius Victorinus, 300-370, on Galatians, Philippians, and Ephesians. We have Jerome, 347-420, on Philemon, Galatians, Bruce Scholar. And then you have Augustine, 354-430, on Romans and Galatians. These were majestic exegetes of the New Testament. Then we have the Middle Ages. F.F. Bruce says, the quality of Augustine's character and intellect ensured that his example dominated the following centuries in Western Christendom. In the standard fourfold sense of Scripture, the three non-literal senses were varies of the spiritual sense. Thus, a reference to water in Scripture might have literal sense of water, but in the moral sense it could denote purity of life, etc. So F.F. Bruce is saying Augustine had a massive impact on the schools of the Middle Ages. There was the Glossia Ordinaria, the great medieval compilation of biblical annotation, took shape from the 11th to the 15th century. You have John Wycliffe in that time, who undertook to make the Bible available to English people. You have the Renaissance, Reformation, and Counter-Reformation. You have John Colet in 467 and 1519, later Dean of St. Paul, broke with scholasticism and lectured on Paul's epistles, expounding the text, the plain meaning. You had Erasmus, who developed his New Testament, Greek New Testament, in 1516, 1519, 1522, and 1527. You had Luther, who was a massive influence, who really said